Hell yes, it's episode 4
of the 90s
Hip Hop A to Z podcast.
Welcome to episode 4, where we are covering G, H, and I. And I'm feeling a little bit like the Count from Sesame Street at this point. But yeah, I am Dan Collacott, your MC for this experience, but I'm joined by the real legends in this party, and they are my partners in crime, spelt with a K, of course, here to give their 50 cents worth. First, he's slim and very shady, and always going round the outside. It's Imran Mirza.
Yes.
I think
Hi.
you'd say he's also white. That would have been excellent.
Wow. Okay. We've gone there already.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
And he loves it when we call him Big Popper. And we do. He basically makes us because he's 6'4". It's TJ Smalls Sutherland.
Hi.
I also realised you might be 6'5". I don't know. I don't know at this
6'4".
point.
6'4".
Wow. Did I actually? That's
You nailed it.
Yes. Okay. That's a little bit weird. I'm not stalking you, I promise. Right. Let's start with the G list. And in no particular order, we have Gang Starr, Gravediggaz, Goody Mob, Group Home, Ghetto Boys, Guru, Godfather of Soul, Gorilla Black, Gross, Jill Scott Heron, Ghostface Killah, Jizza, G Unit, Grand Puba, or Grand Pooba? Don't know how.
Puba. Yeah. Puba does not sound right.
It doesn't.
It sounded very dirty, didn't it?
Sounds like something a little bit weird. The Goats, Gucci Mane, and Grandmaster Flash. Right.
Can I just say, I didn't realise Gucci Mane had been around for so long.
No? Same?
Good on him. Well done.
Yeah.
Good on you, Gucci.
So he has releases going back that long, does he?
Oh,
I don't know.
Maybe we should have checked.
controversial.
Someone
not do their due diligence.
No, I don't think they did.
Oh.
First release 2005.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was alive in the 90s, but, you know. Does that count?
I mean, he must have been rapping in his kitchen.
Yes.
Yes, that sure.
If that's the criteria, this list is going to get very, very long.
Wow.
Of every rapper that's ever rapped in their kitchen in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, who's guilty of sticking Gucci Mane in there? Dan, I'm looking at you.
I think it's Imran.
It really wasn't.
Oh dear, there could be some non-90s in there. Well, we're not
Maybe
going to talk about the non-90s anyway.
Maybe it was Grime that did it.
Yes.
It could have been Optimus Grime. He's been seriously fucking with things recently, so...
Cheeky little bugger.
Yeah. Well, actually, Imran, let's go with your favourite first, because it's quite a powerful and poignant one.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Yes, I was a toss-up between Guru and Gang Starr. It's not much of a toss-up because they're practically the same answer. But I've opted for Guru because this week I could still shout out Gang Starr. But also he had a wonderful series of releases. 2 of them fell into the 90s in Jazzmatazz Volume 1 and Jazzmatazz Volume 2. Really, particularly the first one, massively special release for me. For anyone unfamiliar with Jazzmatazz projects, basically, you know, Guru with Gang Starr, with Tribe Called Quest, with De La Soul, part of a large collective of artists who were very famous for sampling jazz records, particularly for starting in the 90s and then obviously going through to today. And jazz formed a large portion of kind of hip hop releases in that context. Then Guru basically was presented through Chrysalis Records with the opportunity to actually record music with jazz musicians. It still does rely on samples. He produces the vast majority of the albums, but he basically enlists the actual musicians, many of which covered by so many. So he has Ronnie Jordan, guitarist, UK guitarist Ronnie Jordan. He has vocalist DC Lee, Nadia Davenport, the trumpeter Donald Byrd as well, who appears on a couple of songs. And these are like incredible names that he managed to enlist for these projects. The second one has sort of a notable, more like European sound. We even have Jamiroquai on that album as well. But the first one in particular, it was a real. I think albums like that are very, very important. I call albums like that gateway albums because they're like that album that sort of transitions you listening to new styles of music. I listen to lots of jazz now, but it's through projects like my favorite band called Soul Life, who did tracks with Talib Kweli and Black Thought of the Roots, and then you kind of hear about them like that, and it helps ease you into this whole new style of music. And this, for me, being a jazz fan, Guru's Jazz and Taz was a real big deal for me, because it kind of, I felt like I was actually listening to jazz. And if you're a jazz fan, I think this album is really worth exploring. If you're a hip hop fan, I definitely think this album is worth exploring, because it gives you new context to him actually working with musicians as opposed to solely sampling them. And obviously, I know this is the honorable mention, but still Guru. But I obviously have to tip my hat to the brilliance of Gang Starr with DJ Premier. And but I thought it'd be cool to highlight just Guru as a solo artist in this context.
Wow.
Is anyone familiar with the Jazz Taz projects out of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's great stuff.
Yes, the first one in particular is real classic for me. I think he kind of... Yeah,
I don't know the second one very well. The first one, I listened to quite a bit. It's great album.
Lounging, just a masterpiece of 90s hip hop songs.
Bird. Yeah.
Yes, God, I adore that. Great video as well.
He's literally lounging.
Yes, yeah. It's a nice black and white kind of video, very jazz aesthetic for the whole thing. It's
you were in a smoking jacket in that as well. Am I romanticizing that?
Oh gosh, no, I don't remember. He might have done, sure.
It feels like a tune where he should have been wearing a smoking jacket.
Yeah, I'd be I don't know. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Damn it, I'm gonna. But yeah, wonderful project, and as I said, it's just one of those kind of. I always think those, like, kind of like a milestone record for me, just in terms of my fandom, and I often think it's something lots of people should embrace. Yeah, it's great record.
And also, what year did Jasmine House come out? Was it
the first one was like 93.
Yeah.
The second one I think was 95, 96. I think 95.
When you think back to the kind of vibe that was carrying the swing back then in that early 90s hip hop, West Coast, East Coast, all that kind of stuff, like Jasmine Tass was so different from everything else, and it was people using samples and all that kind of stuff. But this was more than using samples. This was like a musical journey through that specific genre meshed with the hip hop side of things.
Yeah, but I don't look at it as too left field, though. Do you know what I mean?
No, sorry.
Yeah, it's not. Not to imply you were, but I mean, as a good point about it, I don't think if you're a hip hop fan and you hate jazz, I don't think you'll get lost on this at all.
No, not at all. I think it was really beautifully done in such a way that it was very different from everything else. It was much more musical than everything else, but it still worked so well, because at the end of the day, hip hop's poetry, right? And poetry, jazz, it kind of all kind of blends and meshes together when you think about it. But yeah, it was a really innovative, and again, at a time when hip hop was doing certain things a certain way, it kind of stood in its own kind of area. So yeah, shout out to Guru for that.
Yeah, brilliant,
nice. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, man, I think everything I know about Gang Starr and Guru is through because ever since I've known you, he and they collectively have been such an important group and artist that I've always kind of picked off that vibe and gone, okay, well, if Imran loves him, loves them as much as he does, then yeah, I really should take more notice
Awesome.
than I did in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
And DJ Premier, obviously, I mean, going back to the Gang Starr thing, I mean, like, they're such a super group when you really look at what they did individually as well. So yeah, Gang Starr is just this perfect kind of combination of them coming together and just making their own magic, but then doing so separately as well. Amazing, great group.
Cool. Well, I'm just gonna put that out to Optimus Grime to give us some more Guru and Gang Starr facts, because I mean, literally, we could have done about 3 podcasts on them, because there's so much history and kind of rich lore, I'm going to say, to them, and everything that's kind of happened. So anyway, but over to Optimus Grime to give us a bit of color on that.
Let's talk a little about Guru and Gang Starr. Keith Elam, better known as Guru, began his career in the mid-1980s as MC Keithy E. He dropped out of grad school to pursue a career in hip-hop. Guru was lauded for successfully bridging the genres of hip-hop and jazz, and with DJ Premier helping to pioneer the New York City hardcore hip-hop sound in the legendary duo Gang Starr. The earliest iteration of Gang Starr was founded by 3 friends in Morehouse College. Big Shug and his younger brother Suave D quit after Shug went to jail. Guru enlisted various other MCs and producers on early demos before disbanding. Guru later partnered with Christopher Martin, aka DJ Premier, in 1988 to form the Gang Starr we know and love. They released their first single, Words I Manifest, and debut album, No More Mr. Nice Guy, in '89. The record arrived during the golden age of New York rap, not long after the emergence of Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, Eric B., and Rakim, and many more. A few years later, Gilbert O'Sullivan sued Biz Markie for sampling his music, bringing an end to artists using music without permission. In 1990, they signed to Chrysalis Records under A&R director Duff Marlowe. Gang Starr released 6 critically acclaimed albums. Moment of Truth and The Collection, Full Clip, were certified gold. Guru was praised by DJ Premiers for his powerful gravelly delivery, even dedicating a song to it on 1994's song, Mostly the Voice. With DJ Premier from Texas and Guru from Boston, Gang Starr proved you didn't need to hail from Compton, LA, Brooklyn, or New York to be outstanding rappers. Guru himself held a bachelor's degree in business management and almost pursued a career in fashion before going into music. Most hip-hop in the 90s involved rapping over tracks and beats, but Gang Starr produced all their sounds live and lyrically strayed away from the glorification of violence, preferring a more socially conscious style. In late 2002, DJ Premier left the group, with varying conflicting reasons as to the breakdown of his relationship with Guru. Suffering from multiple myeloma, Guru fell into a coma after experiencing respiratory problems. He died in New York at just the age of 48. Gang Starr are still one of the greatest hip-hop groups ever to have existed.
Okay, awesome. So, TJ, let's talk a little bit about your favorite from the G list.
Eels. So I went with Jizza from a small outfit called the Wu-Tang Clan. Don't know if you've heard of them before. Didn't do much in the world of music and hip hop, but they managed to play a rather little successful furrow in their own lane.
They never quite got out the kitchen, did they?
They just didn't quite break through to the heights of other grand performers like Snow and.
I can't wait till we get to the S's.
Snow's going to get the biggest shout out from me, I swear to God. It's interesting. I was just thinking about this actually, because when it comes to, I mean, there are like 50,000 members of the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm pretty sure Wu-Tang have got a shout out and have had a shout out in every episode so far, and probably will get a shout out because there's just so many members of them. Jizz are one of the originals, the original three. The original three being himself, his cousin the RZA, and ODB. First formed a little group amongst themselves before linking up with Method Man and the rest of the 50,000 members of the Wu-Tang Clan, and going on to make Enter the Wu-Tang in early 90s, 92, 93, I think it was. And that just absolutely blew up. And I wanted to give Jizza a shout out, actually, because I think Method Man, quite rightly so to a certain extent, and ODB often get a lot of the plaudits when it comes to the rapping style of the Wu-Tang Clan and being the most, charismatic and the most recognizable and all that kind of stuff. But I think Jizza does. I mean, I guess to people that know Wu-Tang and know his stuff, Liquid Swords being one of my favorite non-Wu-Tang albums. I think anyone that knows Wu-Tang is a fan of Wu-Tang, recognizes how great he is. But I think people that are just kind of casual fans of Wu-Tang kind of drift more towards a Method Man and an ODB, and don't really give Jizza enough credit for his skill on the microphone and his skillful wordplay, and kind of just his appearance on other stuff like Cuban Links, and just guest appearing on other people's records in the Wu-Tang. Some of his verses and lyrics, just really sublime stuff, and really clever, intelligent, funny, and I just think he's a unsung hero to a certain extent of the Wu-Tang. But he's still going strong, I believe. I don't know when he last released an album. I think it was back in the mid 2000s, but 2010s, even mid 2000s. But yeah, he's I think he's definitely worthy of a shout out in our A to Z of hip hop greats.
Well, I have to say, Liquid Swords is my favorite solo album of Wu-Tang members, and I was absolutely horrified that Imran hadn't heard it until recently.
What?
Imran, do you want to tell that story?
I hadn't heard it until recently.
That's the story.
It's a great story.
I was subsequently
ashamed of yourself.
Well, I was, and then I was
say something.
I was subsequently cussed out by Dan, and then promptly asked for my address, and then he said he very kindly.
I didn't go around there.
You better hope your son never hears this episode, because he's probably gonna disown you.
Yeah,
he's gonna ship you off to home. That's it, Dad. You're done.
He's scowling at me now with his slick Rick chain and beret.
Exactly. Livid.
But
shame upon this family, Father.
But Dan very kindly, purchased a copy for me as well, which is amazing. Yes, it wasn't the super deluxe double edition vinyl or anything like that. It was just the. But no, that was very, very kind, and it was great. It was
I bought actually, it's probably isn't one for this. I bought a turntable the other day, and I bought some vinyl, and so I'm now a vinyl head. He says with his 6 vinyls.
Is one of the vinyls Liquid Swords?
No, actually.
You got to name him now. What have you got? Please say snow. Please say snow. Please say snow.
No, it's a real ramshackle collection of stuff that I've had since I was in my teens, and then stuff that we bought recently. So, Miseducation, Lauryn Hill.
Wow.
93 Till Infinity, Souls of Mischief.
Gosh. Okay.
What else we've got? Kate Bush, The Whole Story, which is a great kind of EP compilation album. I forget her name now. British rapper, female. Oh, damn it!
Miss
Be-
Dynamite,
No,
Betty
no, no,
Boo.
no, no. Gee,
Moni
why am I
Love.
asking you? No, why am I asking you guys? You idiots. Um, Michael Jackson, Thriller. Um, Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew. I had a random single of that since I was a kid.
Gosh,
And Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince album as well.
amazing.
And I can't remember the other one I've got. It's actually Jess's one, but it's I'll figure it out in a sec. But yeah, it's good fun. It's just
Nice.
nice.
Female
having-
rapper, female UK rapper. Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
current UK film rapper, and
Oh.
she's won Brit Awards and stuff recently.
I know who it is.
Who is it?
Little Sims.
Yes, boom, that's it. Yeah, one
Nice.
of her
I have one
albums.
record.
Not the most recent album, but the
No.
one prior to that. So.
Is that the one with Selfish on it?
I'm gonna say yes.
It's got. I think I've
With
got one.
an
album
unconfident yes. But yeah, sorry, I just completely derailed this conversation.
Yes.
So,
But yeah.
getting back to the Dizzer,
He was
I actually
kidding.
saw him. I actually saw him live recently as part of my weird ongoing odyssey of live London 90s kind of hip hop gigs.
Dan's World Tour.
Yeah, it has been a bit like that. Yeah, he was playing the Jazz Cafe, and he had a live band, which is quite cool. So
Nice.
he did a lot of stuff from Liquid Swords, and he had a guy. I don't know what you really call it, but it's like an electric violin he was playing. So he was playing a lot of the, he's playing a lot of Liquid Swords, and he was playing, obviously doing his verses from Wu-Tang. But one of the
Nice.
things, I think I said this to you, man, that I realized is he is so comfortable doing any verses from Wu-Tang songs, because obviously ODB is his cousin.
Yeah,
Same as obviously Riz's cousin, they're all cousins, and he is brilliant. Like he's flawless doing ODB's verses as well. But the
sick.
funniest thing about this, so it was a sellout gig. He did 2 gigs in one day, which is really strange. But because it was live instrumentation, so live keyboards and electric violin and drums and all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool, but it was overpowering his vocals because I guess of basically how loud they were in the space. And there were a group of, I would say, kids by our standards anyway, sort of probably in their late teens, maybe early 20s, and he kind of looked down and he was like, "What do you want? What are you saying?" And they just went, "We want to hear you, not that. We can't hear you." And he's like, "What are you saying? I'm not loud enough?" He goes, "Yeah, we want to hear you." And I, he could have got quite pissed at that and taken a moment and kind of cussed them out, but he just looked so, because they were so enthusiastic. There was about, I don't know, there was a whole group of them shouting at him, and he just kind of looked so shocked. And then he
Sounds to me like the sound engineer needed a slap.
Well, yeah, basically.
So do your job. You love to have one job. You're not doing it.
Exactly. And then he got them to turn his vocals up. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, there was so much love in the crowd for him, and it was a brilliant set. It was quite a short set, but it was it really was probably one of the best live kind of 90s nostalgia trips I've sort of had in a long time. And I mean, because he's kind of the old. I think he's the oldest. I think he was like the first to have, because he had a record deal before they even were Wu-Tang.
Yes. He released released an album as well, which didn't do well. But he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, which is it's really cool that he's sort of still doing solo tours.
And it is always nice because you often hear horror stories about, they went to go and see this hip hop band or artist that I was a massive fan of in the '90s, but when I got there, they were rubbish or had no enthusiasm or just whatever. But it's good that he's still doing his thing and still hopefully still enjoying it, and people are still vibing with him and that sort of thing as well. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he clearly, obviously, the audience, I would say, is 50% people like us and 50% young people who you wouldn't imagine would even
Yeah,
know who Wu-Tang are at that stage in life. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. And he was absolutely um, flawless.
good.
Um, and on that note, I'll just go over to Optimus to give us a few facts about the Jizza.
Let's dive into the fourth chamber with some cold liquid facts about the legend that is the Jizza. Gary Grice, better known as Jizza and the Genius, was one of the founding and oldest members of the Wu-Tang Clan and the first to get a record deal. He was signed to Cold Chillin' Records as a solo artist under the name The Genius and released his debut album, Words from the Genius, in '91. But a lack of promotion and bad touring experiences led him to ask for his release from the label. Jizza joined his cousin the Reza as one of the 9 members of the Wu-Tang Clan in '92 and helmed the solo track Clan in Day Front from debut Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers in 1993. And featured on many other Wu albums and solo records. A lyrical genius with a tongue-twisting vocabulary. His 1995 album Liquid Swords is one of the most critically acclaimed Wu solo albums ever released. He has to date released 6 solo albums and is still creating music and touring. The endless chess references in his music are genuinely born from his love of playing chess and the strategy deployed therein. He has released a book titled The Wu-Tang Manual, which takes an in-depth look into the philosophy, history, creative, and artistic process of the Wu-Tang Clan. Jizza is famous for improvising complex freestyle rhymes on the spot. He acted in the series The Get Down and is an advocate for education in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, using his music and resources to support educational programs. Okay, I admit I am not programmed to pronounce the word Giza, Gza, Geezer, or Reza properly. Even if I do it in Cockney accent, I sound odd. So get all the way off my back.
Right, perfect.
Oh, that Optimus is such a card.
He is. He's on some shit, I can tell you that.
I want to know what
story there,
shit a fucking robot has got to be on to get him fucked up.
That's how I pay him. Obviously, I don't have any
Cocaine-laced petrol, or I don't know.
There's some serious chemicals involved. That's all I can say. So yeah, my choice for G, and again, it's quite hard because there's quite a few kind of solid A1 stars in the G list, but one of the ones, and we aren't deviating too far from the Wu-Tang theme at all, because I love the Gravediggaz.
Nice.
But yeah, it is a bit of a weird one, because I kind of feel like the Gravediggaz really only had one album, which was just, I don't know. It's in my top. I would say probably my top 10, my top 15 albums of all time, and yeah, obviously, for the fact people probably know that Gravediggaz was like a spin-off album where RZA was teaming up with Prince Paul, and God, I got to get this right, and Fruquan, and obviously the RZA, because they were previously, and Too Poetic, God, get them all. Yeah, and it was bringing two groups together, and I think the first album, which has a name which I can't say. I don't know, TJ, you allowed to say the name?
I believe I am. I don't want to. Well, the title of the original title of their first album was called Nigger Mortis. So
It
yeah,
was indeed, but
but then they changed it to 6 Feet Deep for obvious reasons. Because white people couldn't go into HMV and say, "Hey, can I get a copy of the no shit."
the thing is, the weird thing is, I did buy that version, like the version I had. I'm pretty sure it was on cassette.
Did
Yeah,
you
it
order it
had that
online?
title. No, I think
Get around it.
I didn't. I mean, I didn't buy it in like an HMV.
Hmm.
But yeah, I bought that version. So it was really weird that, because when you then saw, because there are like a couple of singles that had a little bit of MTV rotation, and I was like, oh, 6 Feet Deep. Why have they? And then obviously the penny dropped eventually. But yeah, you can't, even now, if you kind of think about it, like a blending of Stetsasonic, if I get that right, the guys from Stetsasonic, who were very old school, hip hop, Prince Paul, lot of humor, a lot of completely different angle to what you marry up with what RZA does and what the Wu-Tang were doing almost practically at the same time. But they created an album of, I think, kind of kicked off horrorcore and was just really kind of dark, but also cartoonish and really humorous, and just had some of the most amazing skits and stories, and really black humor, which it's kind of a shame, because I think 6 Feet Deep is just one of the most perfect albums. There's not, the storytelling on it is just amazing. Um, there's not a bad track on it. And then, funnily enough, the second album, which was called I could get this right, The Pick, the Sickle, and the Shovel, was actually, again, the rapping wasn't, nothing wrong with the kind of rapping and the kind of the quality of the beats and the overall production, but it was the RZA kind of stepped in and sort of pushed Prince Paul to one side, so it became more like the kind of later Wu-Tang albums, and it lost its kind of originality, it lost its edge, which is quite sad, because I think all those guys still, they still produced music together. Obviously, I think, was it Too Poetic died, and he again, like from the first two albums, was, he was the Gravediggaz equivalent of ODB. His vocal style was just
So
just
unique. Yeah.
yeah, it was just incredible. So I think his loss was huge. And then, I think they've done various singles. Solo members of the group of, Fruquan. Obviously, Prince Paul has a career that kind of spans beyond this, but there's bits and pieces out there that I found that go on until the early noughties. But yeah, from the point of view of a complete album that was just incredible. I mean, like a song like "Bang Your Head," just you just yeah, it was incredible, and I don't think there's been anything anywhere close to that since. But yeah, yeah, TJ was you mentioned, but what are your thoughts on Gravediggaz?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely concur with everything you said. That first album was just an absolute work of art. I listened to that thing so much. Um, every single track on it's a banger. The wordplay, the storytelling, just some of the beats were just so fucked up and dark and twisted. And again, like you say, there were a lot of things in there that I hadn't heard before, and to your point, they kind of kicked off the whole horrorcore genre to a certain extent. But yeah, just the darkness of it, and just how. But at the same time, like you say, it was quite humorous and kind of silly darkness. Whereas I think that the subsequent albums got darker and darker still, and kind of a bit bleak. And I didn't really vibe with them too much, but which is understandable. They had one of the founding members pass away during the recording of the third album, I think it was, and different production on the second album as well. So they were going to be different. But yeah, that first album to this day, still, I kind of agree, is one of my top hip hop albums of all time.
Nice. Imran, what are your thoughts?
I think it's one of those things where you listen to something, and if you're not ready for it, it's just not going to connect with you. And for everything that you've said, that you praised it for both of you, in terms of the it's quite dark and horrorcore and stuff like that. When I heard it, I wasn't ready for it. And I think at that time, it's been obviously, gosh, how many years? 20 odd years now. But yeah, I mean, these are glowing reviews, obviously, so it's probably time to sort of attempt to reconnect with the first album, for example. But I do remember hearing certain things and just thinking, oh my gosh, this is not Mo Money, Mo Problems. And
we allowed to talk about P. Diddy, or is he?
Well,
yeah.
Oh dear. That was upsetting. But
wait till we
anyway.
get to P. That's gonna be fun.
Well,
Wow.
okay. But anyway, yeah, I think it's one of those things where you gotta, like, the first time I heard the Roots, I wasn't, I remember trying to listen to Illadelph Half-Life, and just thinking this sort of isn't for me at this point. And it took me a few more years until I kind of was ready for it, and I think Gravediggaz kind of fell into that category upon initial upon initially encountering their music. But yeah, maybe it's time for me to reconnect with it.
It's interesting you say that, actually, because I, like you, I'm not a fan of horror
like you
genre
too.
at all.
Oh, I see.
You had to ruin it, didn't you?
You said it.
I, much like you, am not a fan of horror genre and that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of it at all. But this, there's kind of topics like suicide, killing, hell, psychological horror, all kinds of stuff in this album. All stuff that I'm, not a fan of, I have no interest in at all. But I think I think this is why the second and the third album didn't really vibe with me, because they go a bit too much into the dark side of things. Whereas, in my opinion, the first one just had just enough humor in it, and just enough kind of, I don't want to say silliness, but ridiculousness or over the topness about it, that it kind of just kept it from feeling too dark and too dreary as I was listening to it. But then that was just me. So, but it's interesting to hear you because I can completely understand why it wouldn't vibe with you straight away, if just because it was very different from sure as hell was different from Return to 36 Chambers. But yeah, it was a very different kind of style of theming your album back then.
And I think, just to add to that, when I first heard 1-800 Suicide, and even Diary of a Madman, I was like a bit like, out of context, if you've not listened to the entire album and you just listen to those tracks, it's just like, what in the name of fuck is going on here? What is this? Even if the kind of composition is very, the production is so good, but the subject matter is just like, whoa. But once you kind of get into the album and you realize how much it's kind of sending up sort of cartoonish violence, and it's more of a parody But you do have to kind of get that mindset, because I think in isolation, some of those tracks are like, what is going on here? Well, apart from Bang Your Head, which is just fun nonsense from the get go. But yeah, I can kind of understand why you felt like that. So actually, TJ, are there any other honourable mentions you want to call out?
Well, I pulled maybe a little bit of a fast one, but I threw Grandmaster Flash in there. Now, hear me out. I know he's been around for a long, since the 70s essentially, but he was still releasing stuff in the 90s.
True.
And I had to give him a shout out because my first ever hip hop album that I owned was The Message on the cassette tape, which I had up until like a few years ago, actually, randomly. But yeah, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message, just one of the. And even to this, I was, because it's on Spotify, and I was listening to it even recently, and it's still an album I can listen to from start to finish. It's just, yeah, it's just a glorious bit of work. Storytelling in it's incredible. There's some switches of genre with like the crazy electro track that's in there. And yeah, just the message is just one of the all-time greatest hip-hop tunes of all time. Just absolutely, to this day, a huge fan of Grandmaster Flash, and it's one of the cornerstones, rocks, foundations, whatever you want to call it, of my love of hip hop, and as a genre of music. So yeah, I had to give Flash some love.
Nice. And I think The Message must be one of the most sampled pieces of hip hop ever.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Imran, are there any other honourable mentions you'd like to call out?
The only one I can think of isn't an honorable mention. It's sort of a one that I've always wanted to get into but haven't yet, which is Goody Mob. I was a big CeeLo fan for a long time, and I've heard a few things about Goody Mob, but I was curious if either of you guys had ever explored them, because I think I've said it a couple of times, I'm a big Outkast fan, so subsequently Dungeon Family and everything, but I've never really sat down with a Goody Mob album. Have either of you? Am I missing out? I imagine I'm
No,
missing out.
I'm not sampled them at all.
Yeah, I don't think I'm trying to remember if I had maybe one of their albums on cassette, but I can't honestly remember. I do remember listening to tracks on like compilation album, but that's about it. Yeah, I'm really guilty of not giving them enough attention as well.
Yeah, I hope to at some time, but there you go. That's my only one, I think.
Cool. Well, I can't believe neither of you have talked about Ghostface Killah. What's going on?
I'm all Wu-Tanged out, quite frankly. too much Wu-Tang, man. It's too many members, too much music. It's just too much Wu.
Too much woo per episode.
But shout out Ghostface Killah though.
I'm not going to do a long one. I'll let Optimus Grime do some facts on him. But yeah, I would say for me, Ghostface has probably been one of the most consistent members of, or ex-members, I don't know how you look at it. No, still a member. No, members of Wu-Tang Clan. Like, I feel like his output has clearly it was better when he was part of the Wu, and early solo albums are always going to be more impactful, but he's kind of kept going, and he's never really put out poor albums. I would say, quality varies, and obviously there's a lot of collaborations, and he's he's done a lot of stuff. I think he's probably one of the most prolific as well. But I would say, he's kind of consistently been thereabouts and never really, dropped off in terms of how good his stuff is. So yeah, um, he's definitely, I'd say, probably my top three Wu Tang guys, as it were. But I'll cross over to Optimus Grime to do a few facts so we can nail that one.
Ghost released 12 Reasons to Die in 2013 as a concept album based on the comic series of the same name. It was composed by film composer Adrian Young. It was also executive produced and narrated by RZA and featured guest appearances from Wu-Tang members Inspector Deck, U-God, Master Killah, and Capadonna. A sequel, 12 Reasons to Die 2, was released on July 10, 2015. He also released a comic called Cell Block Z in 2009 with illustrator Chris Walker, recasting himself as a heavyweight champion, framed for a murder he didn't commit, sent to a high-tech prison that turns people into dangerous bioweapons. I think my nemesis Megatrance spent some time in that place. Ghostface Killah's real name is Dennis Coles. His stage name was inspired by the 1979 kung fu film Mystery of Chess Boxing, in which a character named Ghostface Killah is the main villain. He launched his own cryptocurrency called Cream, standing for Cryptocurrency Rules Everything Around Me. He has starred in films including Blade Trinity, Iron Man, and TV series from Luke Cage, Human Giant, and 30 Rock. He has one daughter and 3 sons, but is no longer in a relationship with the RZA's sister, Sophia Diggs, although one of the 4 children is from that relationship. Ghost began working on debut solo album Supreme Clientele in 1998, but then had to serve a 4-month sentence at Rikers Island. He pleaded guilty to a gun charge from 1995 that took place at the Palladium nightclub in New York City. He and the RZA managed to finish the album when he was released. He and Wu-Tang were also being investigated by the FBI at roughly the same time. I hate those American fascists. Leave me alone and stop making me star in shite films.
Right, nice one. I don't know, Imran. Sorry, I should have asked if you had anything to add on Ghost.
No, I know I love I do love Ghostface. I have like Iron Man is a got a brilliant sort of introduction to the not introduction but brilliant entry into like the Wu kind of solo catalog. And I mean, in fairness, I mean, he probably doesn't get as much credit. He got credit as sort of just being, we talked about like Jizza not sort of maybe permeating through in ways like Method Man or ODB or Ghostface or Raekwon did, but I think Ghostface, he was a big personality, but he's a guy who's consistently made, a long and extensive series of solo albums, but he does so many collaborative projects as well. He did a record with Bad Bad Not Good, who are I forget where they're from, a European jazz band, really eclectic kind of ensemble, and makes amazing music. But just the fact that he did that record with them was insane. He did stuff with he got some like posthumous Jay Dilla instrumentals as well that he did stuff with, and and was it MF Doom that they did stuff together as well, didn't they? So I think
Almost.
it didn't happen.
Well, they released one single, but to this day, I mean, the last time I saw MF Doom, he was touring with Ghostface, and it was supposed to be building up to an album between collaboration between them both. But yeah, as of now, there was only ever one song released, so I have no idea where the rest went.
Well, I'm going to give him a point for the intention and the fact that they toured and there was a single. But yeah, he didn't seem to be pretentious about his status. He worked with indie guys, and I always thought it was super cool the fact that he just consistently kind of put himself out there, and I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, totally agree. And one last shout out. I'm not going to do a long one because I'll let Optimus Grime fill in some facts. But I was a really big Goats fan in the 90s. and I loved. I think the first album I got on cassette was No Goats, No Glory. But looking back on it, the Tricks of the Shade album, which came out a couple of years before the second album, is just awesome. It is one of those things that's quite overlooked. I think they had a full band, they had a lot of members, and they had a lot of stuff going on where they were kind of doing a lot of, we always talk about skits. We always talk about how some albums have 20 songs which are just really bad skits and really just random kind of gang violence and other kind of crap. But on Tricks of the Shade, it had a full story with like character acting and just tonally one of the weirdest kind of albums. It was like a kind of sending up was it post Reagan era America, and it was, and the whole kind of the social system, and yeah, it had a lot of kind of political black humor, and it was, yeah, I don't know. I urge anyone, well, both of you guys and anyone listening to just listen to Tricks of Shade. It's quite an experience, and I think they became a bit more kind of Cypress Hill kind of blunts and ganja obsessed in the latter album, in No Goats, No Glory. But yeah, as a very definitive, what would you call it, kind of moment in time, Tricks of the Shade is definitely something that you'd really just not expect to exist. It is very odd. But yeah, I'll let Optimus give us some final facts before we move on.
Hailing from Philadelphia, the Goats were an American alternative hip-hop trio. Founding members included rappers James D'Angelo, Patrick Shoop, Max Stoyanov Williams, better known as O.T. Cato, Swayzak, and Mad, respectively. Their name was derived from the word scapegoats and related to their feelings and attitudes towards the U.S. government, a theme that also colored their music. The group featured a full musical band including drummer Chuck Treese and multi-instrumentalist Pierce Turney and bassist E.J. Simpson. Mark Boyce contributed keyboards and voiced many of the characters on Tricks of the Shade. In fact, they once boasted an 8-piece lineup. The group released 2 studio albums, Tricks of the Shade in '92 and No Goats, No Glory in '94. Tricks of the Shade handled some heavy social and political themes, whereas No Goats, No Glory channeled some of that previous anger and anarchy, but mixed in a lot of weed-related fun. Though critically acclaimed, both albums only gained moderate commercial success, and they disbanded in '96. The album Live at Khyber Pass, recorded during a live concert on July 4th, '93, was released in 2019, but that revival seems to be short-lived. Questlove once stated that the Roots were invited to open for the Goats on tour, and he cites this as their first live performance. Did you notice my recent attempts at a cheeky Cockney accent? No, it's not a malfunction. I'm trying to land a role in the Peaky Blinders film. I can't be any worse than James Corden.
Right. Okay. Right. I think we're there. I think we can head into H, and as we discussed when we were drawing up the list, H is quite a small
Slim
group of
pickings.
artists. It is slim pickings. So I'll read them out again, no particular order. We've got Havoc, we've got Heavy D, Harlem World, House of Pain, Humpty Hump. God, just so good to say that. Heather B, Hijack, Hurricane, Helter Skelter, Hieroglyphics, and Horsemen. So I'm going to go to Imran. What was your favourite from that fairly slender list?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was looking at the wrong. Sorry, just cut that out. I had a weird brain freeze looking at the spreadsheet. I'm like, hang on, that's not. Hang on, just cut all of that out. My favorite from the list. In complete honesty, there weren't a huge amount of H's that I totally resonated with. I'm gonna have to go with Heavy D. However, I think a lot of his contributions, particularly for the '90s, go largely kind of overlooked. I think he's heralded as an absolute legend, and he absolutely is. But so much of his stuff from just as a solo artist, as a producer, as a mentor, as a label exec, the things that he did for like Uptown Records and R&B groups like Soul for Real, just really really awesome stuff. And I have to give it up for, I have the Peaceful Journey album by Heavy D and the Boys, which is so like that. I really sometimes I want to do like a sit down and work out like the very first hip hop songs that I remember falling in love with at various times, and just like which one was first, because I think Now That We Found Love, like that came out in
Oh,
'91. I
so
was
good.
obsessed with that song. I thought that was the coolest song in the world. Not really reflective of that album though. That album has Pete Rock on it. It's got Q-Tip on it. But that there's a Teddy Riley produced tune with that's Aaron Hall. There's two members of Guy on that track, and it's such a. I just loved it. And like, how old was I? Like 10 or whatever it was at that point, and I loved that song so much. So I may have picked Heavy D for that more than anything, but I think just as a contributor to that time period, I think we had like 5 albums as well in the '90s as like Heavy D and the Boys, and his solo stuff. I think it's been like 5 records that he put out in that time. So yeah, absolute legend. So yeah, he's who I wanted to shout out, I think, in the slot.
No, fair play. It's a great choice. TJ, what are your feelings on Heavy D?
He was a big dude. But no, I think just to kind of echo him a bit, absolute legend of the industry. Really sad when he passed. He had so much respect across the board, basically. And yeah, I think again at a time when people were dipping much more heavily into the kind of gangster side of things and all that kind of stuff, Heavy D was just still doing his thing. It was still his sound was always reminded me of, lent more towards the kind of New Jack Swing side of things.
Mm.
But it was always fun, uplifting stuff. It wasn't, it was always trying to bring positive vibes. And yeah, it's definitely a legend of the industry.
I mean, I would say Nothing But Love, and what was the other one you said, Iman? That was
Now That We Found Love.
Now That We Found Love,
Mm.
and I've Got Nothing But Love for You. What's that one?
Mm.
Is that what it is? I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
remember yeah. Those two tracks are just pure, like almost like mainstream perfection. When I think,
Right.
there weren't many kind of groups or artists that really kind of managed to sort of straddle to the mainstream, away from gangster rap. Be quite positive, just be fun, just be you know you know I guess Will Smith is another kind of example. MC Hammer, before for some reason he decided to try and pretend he was a gangster rapper. There were a lot of well, there weren't
I
a lot.
remember that.
Yeah, so bad.
God.
There weren't that many artists that were able to kind of you know do that with some legitimacy, and still have some credit and cool, and he did. I think you know PM Dawn may be another one, but I feel like if you can't enjoy though the some of the big hits that he put out, then you literally have no soul. You're dead inside if you can't enjoy that. And at the time, I think I probably was like, oh, what is this? This sounds a bit pop. I probably shouldn't like this. But then inside every fiber is just rocking with it and loving it. So yeah, I thought he was yeah, he was pretty awesome. Obviously, very very sad that he passed away. Um,
He's cousin to Pete Rock as well. If anyone didn't know that, we talked about
Yeah,
cousins earlier.
he is indeed.
wow, that's cool.
Let's run through some facts about the overweight lover. Dwight Arrington Myers, better known as Heavy D, was born on May 24th, 1967, in Mandeville, Jamaica, before moving to Mount Vernon, where he formed the group Heavy D and the Boys, who had many hits, including Now That We Found Love in '91 and Nuttin' But Love in '94. Heavy D also acted in over 24 films, including Tower Heist, with Eddie Murphy and Ben Stiller, and also starred in Life and Cider House Rules. He appeared in TV shows including the Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and helped create the theme tune to the hit shows Living Color and Mad TV. Heavy D even appeared on the Michael Jackson track Jam and also collaborated with Jay-Z and Janet Jackson. While still an artist at Uptown Records, he helped convince industry mogul Andre Harrell to hire Sean Diddy Combs as an intern. Heavy D very sadly passed away at the end of 2011 after suffering a blood clot in his leg linked to air travel. His final performance was at the 2011 BET Hip Hop Awards. After his untimely death, MC Hammer paid tribute to Myers, stating, "We had a lot of great times touring together. He had a heart of gold. He was a part of what's good about the world. We all have nothing but love for you, D."
Yeah. So, TJ, what is your favorite on the H list?
What was my favourite on the H list, Dan? Oh yeah, my favourite on the H list was on this very slim suspect. Oh dear, just slapped my microphone. My pick of the from the slim H choices that we had were the Boston Mad Bastards. They were from Boston, right? Yeah, they were Boston. House of Pain.
Oh,
Yeah, you said that like like you're taking offense.
Oh, we're gonna have to end this now.
no. I just
So-
didn't expect that.
So I went with House of Pain because funnily enough, as you mentioned, Pete Rock, Imran. Everyone knows "Jump Around." It's quite possibly one of the most overplayed hip hop tunes of all time. Some people like it, some people hate it because it gets overplayed so much. But Pete Rock did a remix of House of Pain, of Jump Around, sorry, which is absolutely fucking brilliant and wipes the floor with the original in every sense of the word. And for that, on the strength of that alone, that's why House of Pain. That shows you how dubious the rest of that H list was, by the way. But in all seriousness, House of Pain, I have to give them their flowers because they, group of crazy Irish white boys jumped into the hip hop genre and went, screw it, we're just going to go nuts and smash stuff up and make huge, loud, bombastic hip hop music, which wasn't, the most original, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of the stuff was a lot of fun. It was kind of a bit reminiscent of I was going to say Cypress Hill, but maybe not quite as drug. Maybe not Cypress Hill, but without the drugs. Maybe kind of like rambunctious. I was going to say Jump Around. Shouldn't say Jump Around, but kind of loud, in your face, kind of subset of hip hop music, which can be fun, and also can be quite annoying, but mostly fun. So yeah, I mean, I only really listened to their to their first album. So I didn't really get into the rest of their stuff that they did. I think they did another 2 albums after their self-titled first album, House of Pain. But they kind of, it feels a bit like they kind of petered out or just kind of disappeared with a bit of a whimper towards the end of the 90s. But yeah, in that brief moment, they kind of rose above a lot of the noise that was bouncing around in hip hop in the early 90s, and did something a bit different, did it their way, and they were a lot of fun while doing it. And yeah, that's my H.
Nice. I mean, kind of aggressive Irish themed hip hop. It's not something that
Perfect.
you come across every day, really. I think.
Exactly.
Um, I think didn't Everlast. He went solo for a bit. I kind of remember he had at least one album that got into the charts because he had a song called
Yeah.
Ends. Was it Ends? I think it was Ends.
Yes, I think so.
I think I remember that before he
Wasn't
kind
there
of
some Eminem
disappeared.
disses back and forth as well?
Ooh,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
poorly advised.
yeah, never going to win that one.
Don't
But
pull on
yeah,
Superman's
I love
cape.
I love On Point and also Just Another Victim. Yet another tune from the Judgment Night track.
Yeah,
So they did produce a few good bangers. And
yeah.
I know Imran, you're a massive fan as well.
Of the pain, the House of the Pain.
Fan of the pain.
Yes.
Fan of the pain, bring the pain.
No, I don't know anything about them beyond that track. I mean, I don't. I've nothing further to say about it. Like, I can't imagine the royalties that they must have get from that one song. It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? Like how every month, the checks that must just
For real.
continue to just pour in. Like amazing. But I don't know. I didn't know too much about them. I've just written down this about looking up the Pete Rock remix. So I'll look that up momentarily. But no, I don't have any comment beyond that. I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's vastly superior, and Pete Rock raps in it as well, which is always
Awesome.
fun. But yeah, get your ears around the Jump Around Pete Rock remix. It's very good fun.
Awesome.
Where was I at? What gig? I feel like there was a recent hip hop gig I saw where they did. Was it Cypress Hill, TJ? Where they did jump around. I don't know. It was a
Did they?
random gig, and suddenly they pulled out jump
I think I
around.
would have. I think I would have. Actually, now you're saying it, it feels like it's jogging memory. Although I'm pretty sure if I did try to jump around, my knees would explode. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I would have got involved with that.
yeah, we definitely just stood there and nodded.
Just went
Old man appreciation.
nod around. Yeah. Nice. You kids go over there and jump. Don't do it near me.
You enjoy yourself. Knock
Yeah.
yourselves out.
Literally knock yourselves out.
Literally, yeah. So I've gone a really weird one. And again, I didn't. It took me a while to even remember these guys that they fall into the H list, and that is the Brixton-based hip hop group Hijack, which I only
Tell us a bit
really.
about them,
Do you guys know anything about them? Are you?
Dan. No.
I know the word, but other than that,
The word hijack.
I've never heard of them.
This is going to be an education.
It's a really odd one because a friend of mine who I don't know seemed to be a bit more. Well, he grew up in London, so I think he always had a bit of an edge on me when it came to music, and he was playing them, and I was like, "Oh, who is this?" Because to me, again, very uneducated palate when it came to hip hop at the time because I was probably about 13 or 14. They sounded like any other American hip hop group. And then I realized as they kept talking about, Brixton and London and all these other kind of references, I was like, hang on, these guys are English. And that was something, really, if you think about it in the 90s.
English people rap? What?
Yeah.
Madness.
There was only, do you remember Credit to the Nation? Remember Credit to the Nation?
No.
Did we
must have missed
speak
that one.
about this? Or
Yeah, it's been.
God,
I'm
we
pretty
have
sure
spoken about it, haven't we?
Yeah, we talked about him. I don't know if we talked about him on the C list, but yeah, he's another kind of English rappers. There tended to be like crossover albums that sort of like, rock metal collaborations that had kind of hip hop. I've probably talked about Dub War before, but yeah, there weren't practically hardly any like well-known hip hop, British or even London-based hip hop groups in the 90s. Yeah, and Hijack, they had one album that I loved called Horns of Jericho, which was really, I mean, production. It sounded like any other kind of, boom bap hip hop album of that genre. Very fast paced, very aggressive, quite fun. But yeah, I kind of had to sort of throw a bit of weight behind those guys, because I'm like, well, we've you don't get an opportunity to talk about a 90s London-based or even a UK-based, let's face it, hip-hop band. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll give them.
Oh, don't wait till we get to L, my friend.
Going for London Beat.
Sure.
Yeah, London Beat. What about London Beat? Oh man, didn't those guys drive off a cliff? London
I
Beat.
think it was Thelma and Louise, wasn't it?
Well, and
Practically the
apparently
same
London
thing.
Beat.
They drew. Is that serious? Are you real?
I feel it could be London Beat. No, maybe another. Is there another band with London in the title? Oh dear.
Oh, you honestly don't know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I
Oh,
made
the
a
L
joke.
you're talking about. Go on.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no. Well, I'm gonna wait till we get to the L's. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay.
If you don't know, well, you know.
I didn't.
Well, now we've got to figure out whether London Beat drove off a cliff or not.
This has gone on a weird ass tangent. I think we need to bring it back in.
I don't think it says years active on Wikipedia, 1988 to present. Thank God.
Oh no,
they did
okay.
not drive
It's
off
not.
a bridge.
It's not London Beat. I swear it's another London Boys. London Boys. I think it was the London Boys.
There's the London
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah, there's a London Boys. Don't pretend like you don't know who the London Boys are, TJ. I know you're cool, but
Not sure I want to know who the London Boys are.
well, they drove off a cliff. That's probably
Yes, you're right. I'm reading it. The duo were killed when their car was hit by a drunk driver
Good
in
Lord.
Austria. Jeez.
Okay, now I feel bad.
Oh yeah. This is taking a turn.
Oh, gee.
I'm going to finish. I won't finish. I won't continue reading. But we did something disparaging. No disrespect at all.
No.
Yeah.
No,
oh gosh, that took a turn.
Yeah,
Bring it back.
Their song "London Nights" was brilliant. Anyway, right. It's got weird, didn't it?
Yeah, a bit awkward. Move on.
Hijacking Hip Hop Podcast, sending the organ free will frequency. This is a test. Only listeners can hear this for now. Executing signal.
Here comes the hijacker from the terrorist group, with rhymes on the attack that never miss troops. Military trained, artillery aimed, obituaries named, responsibility claimed by the trigger jigger. I make 'em quiver and run quicker, so call a vicar 'cause you slivering down the river. I once heard a wise man say there are no perfect hip-hop groups, only perfect beats. Well, I may say that those crazy Brixton rappers Hijack came close to a brief moment of perfection. They were my favorite British hip-hop groups from the 90s. Not that there were many to choose from. They featured Comanche Sly, DJ Supreme, DJ Undercover, Ulysses, Agent Fritz, and Agent Cluiso. My man Ice-T signed the group to his Rhyme Syndicate record label. They released their debut album on the label, the critically acclaimed Horns of Jericho, in 1991. The single Daddy Rich got some serious love in the UK, but there were so many bangers on that album, including Hijack the Terrorist Group and the Syndicate Out of Jail. And yes, it was the 90s, so calling yourself terrorists was still okay. Sadly, Warner Brothers refused to release the album in the US, so the group parted ways with the company. Later, Comanche Sly and DJ Undercover started Reservoir Records, changing their names to Mr. Pink and Mr. Blonde briefly. DJ Supreme founded Backbone Records. All have split and reformed numerous times and were active up until 2016. Cities fall, but they are rebuilt. Hip-hop groups die, but they are remembered.
Oh my God! Right, save this. Hieroglyphics. I Now, this is a bit of a cheat sheet because I think all three of us probably are to some extent fans of Del the Funky Edit that one out. Yeah.
Wow.
Del the Funky Homo. No, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. As well
God.
as Souls of Mischief. Maybe, obviously, as a producer and manager, Domino is quite well known. But yeah, I think, I realized having, booked to go and see them live because I've always wanted to see Del the Funky Homo Sapien, that I just thought they were kind of like a label collective. I didn't realize they'd actually released 3 albums. I didn't know that. I thought at best there was maybe one album, but yeah, there's 3 albums, and I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, I felt pretty bad, and I've been quite excited to sort of delve into that back catalogue and discover new music from some artists that I love. Souls of Mischief. Obviously, I love Dell, but yeah. So I spent some of this afternoon listening to their earlier albums, thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. So I clearly did not know what I was buying into when I got that ticket, but yeah, a little shout out to those guys, and I'm thinking. Do you guys want to call out anyone else? Imran, is anyone else on that list?
I'll give a fleeting one, if I may, to Helter Skelter. They have a wonderful track. My buddy had their album, and they have a wonderful track with R&B singer Anthony Hamilton before he got really big, called Hold Your Head Up, which I just loved. It was a great song, really kind of an introspective tune, and I want to shout them out for that. But also Havoc, forming one half of Mobb Deep. I won't go too much into Havoc because he didn't release solo material, but I hope will still count as an honourable mention, being a part of one half of Mobb Deep. I think they had 4 albums in the 90s. We'll talk about Mobb Deep separately, but again, as a producer for the group, as a guy who helmed Shook Ones, Quiet Storm, as well as production for Notorious B.I.G. and others, I just thought I would give him a big shout out.
Nice. Yeah, that's a very good point. TJ, did you want to talk about Humpty Hump?
I mean, we've already kind of done Digital Underground on the D
True.
on the D list, so I won't go into it too much. But sadly, another legend of the industry who was lost way too soon. I can't remember which year it was he passed away. Actually, 21. He passed away, unfortunately. But Shock G, also known as Humpty Hump, also known as 50,000 other names. Great rapper, great personality, so much charisma. Did some incredible stuff with Digital Underground, and just had to give him his flowers.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay, so wow, we're almost at the end. We can finish up on the letter I, and I'd actually say that considering how few there are on this list for I, the ones that are on it are pretty decent. So we've got Ice Cube, Ice-T, The Insiders, Intelligent Hoodlums, Insane Clown Posse, Infinity Squad, Infamous Mob, Ajaya. I don't know how to pronounce her. Azaya, is that right?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. And finally, we can't have a single letter without some woo action.
Jesus Christ.
We have
My God.
Inspector Deck himself. So
Too many of them.
TJ. Actually, hang on. Well, according to this sheet, you guys both have the same favorite, but you may have updated it since, so it may not be the same favorite. But TJ, you go for it first.
Um, oh yeah, yes, both of us did go for Ice. No, I was going to make some ice pun, but I'll just go straight to it. Ice Cube. Um, just boy, this guy. He's been around for a minute. So going back to, I mean, if you've not heard of Ice Cube, then where the hell have you been for God knows how long? Kicked things off way back in the late 80s with NWA. If you know anything about hip hop, you'll know about NWA. Doing stuff with Dr. Dre, Eazy-E. Just completely kicked off the whole gangster rap genre, almost single-handedly, and just absolutely blew up, offending people left, right, and center, terrifying a lot of white people in America with his early stuff, and then they all went their separate ways, and then he went on, was still a pretty angry man, so he did some pretty angry albums, America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, The Predator, all through the kind of late 80s through to the early 90s. Predator was such a good album. Just absolutely played the shit out of it. America's Most Wanted, interestingly spelled Amerikka. Take from that what you will. Very, very, very subtle. It's quite understated, is Ice Cube. So yeah, and then going on to the West Side Connection stuff and Lethal Injection through the mid and the late 90s. Kept on. It was really prolific actually in the amount of work that he released through the 90s into the early 2000s, and then just decided, I want to diversify and start doing a bit of acting. Did the Friday movies, which some of the funniest comedies I personally have ever seen. Just ridiculously silly, dumb, fun movies. And yeah, he's then gone on to do some stuff in the world of basketball. He did this 3-on-3 competition. Hell of an entrepreneur, and yeah, just an absolute beast across films, TV, and yeah, a true absolute legend of the hip hop world, and yeah, he's still going as well. He's still a presence. It's got a few strange conspiracy theory things going on, but we'll skirt past that. But yeah, he's a true legend of the genre, and yeah, God love him.
Imran, what are your feelings on the Cube?
Ice Cube, star of the Barbershop film series and the family movie Are We There Yet? Is no
What the fuck?
No, wonderfully put, Tej. Yes, no, wonderfully put. For me, I have to relegate my entire fandom to Ice Cube, to the words today. I didn't even have to use my AK. I gotta say, it was a good day. That tune is sort of just like the Heavy D one, where again, this is interesting because that's 92. And those are two songs that are just one of the first. I wasn't a hip hop fan at this point, but we heard that song, my brother and I, and just absolutely fell in love with it. It was just bliss. But it's tinged with this kind of that heartbreak moment of, I used to listen to hip hop and think it was all original music, but then you hear, oh, that's just a straight Isley Brothers sample. Like, you've just taken the whole thing.
Wait a moment.
Because I was an Usher track about 3 or 4 years later called One Day You'll Be Mine. And I remember hearing it thinking, oh, he sampled Ice Cube. And then you go through the credits and it's like, Ice Cube in this list at all. It's Isley Brothers. What have they got to do with it?
It's a real rabbit hole when you get into that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's like, it was kind of like my first heartbreak with the genre, because you're listening to stuff thinking it's all original music being composed, and then you're kind of like, oh, this is just a straight lift. So yeah, but that tune It does. It feels terrible when you kind of discover that for the first time. But no, I mean that song for me just a really really brilliant song. Yeah, so it's very much like that Heavy D kind of connection of Boom. That's the one I kind of gravitate towards. But yeah, no, Ice Cube was awesome. He wasn't like, again, it goes to the Gravediggaz stuff a little bit as well, because I mean, you kind of went through it, Teach, just the album titles that he put out from like,
He's an angry
it
dude,
doesn't
man.
get, it's angry, it's aggressive, it's, you know, it's like, oh man, you know, like, this is not Puff Daddy's "I'll Be Missing You." You know what I mean?
That's the
Hang on,
second Diddy
Imran.
reference, Imran. All right, you're getting a yellow card now. Okay.
Okay. But yeah, so it's I wasn't an overall fan of Cube in that period, but yes, his contributions to, yeah.
Are you saying that No Vaseline is not a family friendly track?
Well, Common didn't think so, but yeah,
Damn.
there you go.
Wow,
Yeah, brutal track, right?
very.
But yeah, no, there you go. But he's awesome otherwise, absolutely. And he's still, you know, he's still doing his thing, man. Such a large scale today, which is awesome. So yeah, credit to him.
Have you both seen 21 and 22 Jump Street?
Yes.
I've seen
The movies
one,
in
not
which
the
he
second.
plays an angry black man in both movies. And then what's the other one? The one where he's the teacher or something like that, where he plays another angry black man. What is it? Oh, Fist Fight. Is it Fist Fight? Yeah.
With with Sunny Philadelphia guy.
Yes.
Charlie
Yes.
Day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely not been typecast though.
He also he's played like the angry dad, hasn't he? Of, you know, in the classic overprotective, really angry dad who doesn't want his daughter dating someone white. I'm sure he's done that as well.
Probably. I mean, also remember he did the sequel to Triple X. Not a porn movie, Dan. Not a porn movie, Dan. Just to clarify.
I'm
before you jump on
Googling
that
it,
one.
and something bad's coming up.
I was going to mention that as well. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, it was terrible. She's why so angry since then.
Yeah.
But did you mention, actually, Tease, as you know, your brilliant summation of his work in the 90s? Did you mention Boys in the Hood? Because I mean, what a seminal like movie that was for that period, and
his first one as well.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely
and, like,
incredible way to kick off your acting career. Like one of the greatest, I say black in inverted commas, but movies of all time.
Yeah.
He's also, well, he's at least unsurprisingly in the top 5 for the darkest and angriest song ever, which is Natural Born Killers with Dre.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, I love that song, but that is, I mean, that beats Gravediggaz, I think, for what the fuck.
Definitely up there. Yeah. That is some darkness.
But you're talking about samples in, man. One of the most incredible samples, it only actually occurred to me when we saw him live not that long ago, I think at the end of last year. And he did a track called The Gangster, the Gangster, the Killer, and the Dope Dealer, which uses a sample from 9 Inch Nails' song Hurt, which must be one of the most, you would think it'd be the least, you know, just a track you couldn't sample, and yet he managed to do it. And I was like, I'd never noticed before that he somehow took a song about heroin addiction that is just mind-numbingly bleak and slow, and sped it up and put it in a hip hop tune. I was just like, okay, wow, yeah, fair play, Cube. You somehow managed to pull that off, as well as the fact it has the woo 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 woo, you know, classic
excellent
hip hop tropes. Awesome. I think Imran, I think it's your favorite next. Oh no, hang on, no. That was what's
Yeah,
confusing
ours
me. I
was
was
a
like,
We
combined.
shared.
Yes,
We
we
shared.
I
share, you
think it's
shared a
yourself now,
favorite.
Daniel.
Yeah, I am talking to myself because I was like, who was Ice-T? And it's like, someone. Well, I was going to do Ice-T as an honorable mention. I think because I actually, funny enough, before I really listened to much Ice-T as a solo artist, I was listening to Body Count, which is mostly terrible, but has some classic moments in it. But yeah, I was heavily into rock at that point, so having a rock crossover that involved a credible hip hop artist was not typical outside of soundtracks and collaborations and one-offs. So the fact that he he was in a guitar band doing his doing his shtick, as well as kind of mixing in more like rock vocals, was pretty cool. But yeah, it's only when delving into his back catalogue you realize how much of his stuff has been sampled and remixed by some of the the best artists out there. I mean, I didn't know. Obviously, you guys would know this. You'd be all over this, but I was totally unaware that is it 99 Problems, the Jay-Z classic
Oh,
was actually an Ice-T song
oh, I
originally.
was
Again,
not aware.
very different production, but similar. Um, I had no idea. One of my favorite Jay-Z tracks. Is it Rick Rubin, that one? I can't remember.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
but isn't it the line? Well, it's not like the whole song. What do you mean, like
No.
the?
No. From a kind of sampling point of view, he
Oh,
took,
I ski. Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
took. Sorry, not. He didn't just.
but he
Yeah.
covered it. I was like, what?
Yeah, not a cover. No, it wasn't a cover. He just took some of the elements of it and
Right.
redid it, which is very cool. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I think in Ice-T's considerably quite hefty back catalogue that people have taken inspiration from.
I had to give Ice-T an honorable mention because, as you mentioned, he has quite a considerable back catalogue. And in that back catalogue is one of his albums called Power. And if you take a moment, dear listener, to Google Ice-T Power, you will see quite a striking album cover. And as a teenage boy at the time, buying CDs, that type of album cover kind of stays with you um, in terms of the content on said album cover, and even more so when you turn that album cover around. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it was a good album, I think, probably. I don't know.
I just googled it and yeah, wow, okay. Oh, and
Yeah,
I've just
I
seen the
went.
back.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yes,
Oh, that's wow.
that's a treat.
That's the thing.
I do love. Obviously, there's parts of that album cover that I enjoy more than others, but I do love when you flip it around on the back and you see Ice-T like hiding the Uzi and the other guy with a shotgun just behind his leg, which is pretty cool. So, and the rest of it's fine as well.
Um, okay. So I'm I'm looking at it now. I need to move on quickly. Brilliant. I'm not going to talk too much about another Wu-Tang alumni, but my favorite from this list is definitely Inspector Deck, who I gained a lot of, I think, kind of renewed appreciation from his work in Czarface, which again, I think we probably haven't gone more than one podcast without me mentioning Czarface and saying how awesome they are. But when you actually kind of delve into Inspector Deck in a Wu-Tang context, you kind of realize that yes, he's not the loudest. He wasn't the most flashy. He probably he didn't get the headlines, but he probably has some of the best verses and some of the best collaborations with all of the Wu artists. So he, yeah, I certainly, when kind of researching, his work for the podcast, I was like, okay, the more and more I delved into it, the more I realized that, yeah, there's a lot more appreciation there than I realized. He was pretty cool. I think the one thing I would call out was, do you guys? I don't know if you've seen the TV show that they did with the whole
Still
story
need
of
to watch that actually. Yeah,
Wu-Tang.
it's
No,
saved in my favorites, but just haven't got around to it.
it's pretty good. I'd say if you like the Wu-Tang, you'll like this. It has some pretty cool moments in it. But towards the end of the series, the RZA, his basement got flooded, so maybe not all, but a lot of the the various mixtapes, beats, production, all the stuff that he'd been working on for numerous solo albums kind of got damaged beyond repair. And I think the guy that got the worst of that was because they'd obviously by this point there'd been several solo albums already put out, but Inspector Deck was supposed to have an album out, and it got delayed so much that by the time it came out, I think that the red hot everything Wu-Tang touches, everything they do, basically just gold, just constant gold, and so much hype. That train sailed. Hang on, a train can't sail.
I know.
I was just about to say, you may have mixed up your analogies there.
Yeah, I think
the train flew, I think is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So, oh wow, a train full of gold flew underwater, and it. Yeah. Anyway. But I kind of felt sorry for him because he didn't manage to ride that kind of Wu-Tang initial solo album wave, and I don't think. Sorry. Oh, God. Yeah, he missed the boat. All I needed to have said, but I didn't get it right. But yeah, I think he made up for it. I think that there are some good solo albums in there. In fact, I'm just going to go to Optimus Grime to kind of fill in that picture.
Someone yawned.
I know. I was like, hang on.
Sorry, it's because I sneezed and I was really trying to hold it, and I was trying to go for my mute button and I mistimed the thing. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
So I don't know if you're yawning at me or Optimus Prime.
No, it wasn't a yawn. It was me inhaling just a split second before I sneezed. So I just went.
Oh, that's great.
Fucking hell, that's terrible.
Do
you want to do that bit? Do you want to do that again? Because shit.
I can do it again if you want. So let's go over to. Oh, hang on a minute. According to my notes, it's Organ Free Will who's going to be doing some notes on Inspector Deck. So, Organ Free Will, take it away.
I can't wait to hear that voice.
Well, now, are you all sitting comfortably? Okay, then, so let's talk about another Wu-Tang legend, one of the originals, that goes by the name of Jason Richard Hunter, better known as Inspector Deck. He was a former Staten Island school classmate of Method Man, Raekwon, and Ghostface Killah. Imagine what hijinks those guys must have gotten up to in the playground. I hate to think I really do. Despite being a more laid-back and quiet member of the Wu-Tang Clan, Deck was one of the most consistent and often most featured member of the Wu, spitting some of the most iconic verses on the tracks. Cream, Protect Your Neck, Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With, and D, Mystery of Chess Boxing. He appeared on almost all solo Wu member projects, even producing tracks for Method Man, GZA, and RZA. He produced the track Visions and rapped solo on another track, The City, on the group's second album, Wu-Tang Forever, as well as helming big verses on the hit single Triumph. I don't mind admitting I love that joint. His debut solo record, Uncontrolled Substance, was delayed several times due to record label delays and the flood in Riza's basement that destroyed all of the album's instrumental production. What a pickle, and I know because, well, I know a few things about floods, but it was finally released 4 years later in 1999 with a warm reception that sadly still fell wide of the initial Wu-Tang Clan hype train. He is still recording bangers today as part of the group Czarface with Boston's 7L and Esoteric, featuring the legendary DJ Premier, which has featured collaborations with Ghostface and MF Doom amongst many other hip-hop legends in a dance as old as time. I'm Morgan Freewill. Thank you for listening.
What the hell is going on? Who is this guy? Who said you could step into my neighborhood and dispense some hip-hop facts? This is my gig, old man.
What you talking about? The guys just wanted to hear a real man of experience talk about hip-hop, so sit your metal ass down. You can do the next one, you weird knockoff man toy.
Jesus, what is he on? I thought Grime was on some shit, but damn.
Yeah, I think we've got a problem. I don't know how I'm going to resolve that one. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know I have to pay that guy to do this.
Where do you find these characters, mate?
I know. Serious. And on that absolute bombshell, I think
you've ended every episode with that line as well.
I was going to say turd burger, but you know.
On that mountain of shite that we stand on, gazing into the next letters in our odyssey of alphabetical hip-hop funkiness. Now, I've got to stop. Just make me stop. Just stop this. We've gone from organ free will to just piffle. Right. But anyway, are there any artists from the I list that you guys would want to talk about? I mean, I know, Imran, you keep raising your hand and saying, when are you going to mention Insane Clown Posse?
I knew you were going to do this.
Go for it.
Well, okay, I don't know. What is the deal with them? Like, they were in wrestling? Are they like wrestlers?
No.
Imran, it's really simple. They are a group of men who are dressed as clowns, and they're a little bit crazy. Hence, Insane Clown Posse. It's the names in the title, dude. It's not that hard to understand.
But they were in wrestling, right?
No. And technically, the term is juggalos. They're juggalos, and their fans are juggalos. Apparently, that's a thing.
What? Okay.
It's quite bad that I know this, but
I've probably offended the entire clown nation, so I apologise for any offence that may have been caused. Anything that was said in the last 5 minutes is my views and my views alone, and Imran and Dan disavow any knowledge of such.
Would you know what happened to Limp Durst? Obviously, Fred Durst. Sorry, that's what one of the Insane Clown Posse called him. Anyway, but
I love how you stunned Imran and me into silence.
I know, just like
what?
What the fuck? So obviously, Limp Bizkit, and particularly Fred Durst, had some beef with Insane Clown Posse. I don't know why. I don't know any of the backstory, but there's footage online of Limp Bizkit playing and Fred's obviously doing his thing, singing whatever track, and one of the Insane Clown Posse runs onto the stage, tries to, and maybe this is where you got it from, Imran, maybe this is your wrestling reference, but he tries to drop kick.
Yes. Absolute misses, doesn't he?
Yeah, and completely
it's glorious.
And then I think he gets the shit kicked out of him by security and dragged off. And Fred Durst is
miss
just
Fred
amazing.
Durst.
He just literally, I can't remember what he says, but he just sort of it's such a moment of zero fucks given. Like, this guy did nothing. This guy just made him look like a complete himself look like a complete arsehole. It is beautiful, even if you don't like Fred Durst and you don't like Limp Bizkit, and I appreciate many people don't, but it is a beautiful moment.
Yeah, he doesn't even, he barely moves, and this dude just totally misses.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible crash to the ground. It's
I need
great.
to
Yeah, I
find
haven't
this
seen that in
footage.
ages. But can I just interrupt you? So I'm on the Wikipedia page. Insane Clown Posse is a professional wrestling tag team currently competing in Juggalo Championship Wrestling. That consists of Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope. Both members began wrestling as single competitors in '83 in their backyard promotion. Blah, 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 blah. They went to ECW as Insane Clown Posse. The team later wrestled for WWF with the Oddities, WCW with the Deadpool, NWA, blah, blah, blah.
I was
So,
gonna
yeah, they're
say,
wrestlers.
because I knew there was an Insane Clown Posse in wrestling, but I thought there were two separate entities that we were talking about. I thought one was a rap group, one was a bunch of rappers. Talk about worlds colliding, Jesus.
Hang
Well,
on.
I mean, they're us. They're the embodiment of us.
No, Imran, no.
No, as hip hop
no.
fans who love wrestling, we should be bowing down to them.
No,
I mean,
absolutely fucking not.
they always looked like. I mean, their face paint does look like. Yeah, they look like.
Wrestling.
Yeah,
Wrestlers.
a wrestling group. But I honestly didn't. Maybe I did know that, but for some reason, my brain has tactically and for good reason edited that
Rightly
out.
so. Yes.
Yeah, but it makes sense that the fact that he tried to do a drop kick, because that's quite specific. I don't think anyone's ever in a random act of violence, especially against an artist on the stage, tried to drop kick them. So it does make sense. But yeah,
So Durst is lucky it wasn't a steel chair whacking him in the back, right?
at least that would make sense. Comes on or hits him with a very thin metal trash can. That would sort of. But it does. I mean, I don't really. I know they're on this list. They were on a few lists when I researched this. I don't consider them a hip hop group at all. I don't know what genre you would put them in, but it is interesting that the whole clown thing. I mean, there is something called clown core, isn't there, as well, which is again another. I think it's a metal genre, but the whole juggalo thing. There's and horrorcore kind of kicking on from the Gravediggaz thing. They do uncomfortably sit in that genre somewhere on the fringes. So yeah, there's quite a surprising amount of artists who fit into horrorcore. I'm actually trying to remember. There was another guy. Oh, what was his name? Because again, it's
Doink.
all that. Sorry.
Doink.
No, that would make my day if that was a thing. But yeah, hang
Oh
on.
my god, I just watched that Insane Clown Posse clip. Fucking hell.
It's so good.
How did you?
It's as open a goal as it could have been, right?
You were coming from directly behind the dude. He wasn't moving. He wasn't jumping. He wasn't dancing. And how did you miss that kick? It's so bad. Sorry, if you're listening to this, you need to go and just search for Fred Durst Insane Clown Posse, and it's the first thing that comes up on YouTube. It's brilliant. That's
Treat
it.
yourself.
It's brilliant. Yes.
And while you were looking at that, I found the other guy, Blaze Ya Dead Homie.
Wow. That's quite the name.
Yeah, I know. And his single Juggalo Anthem, obviously a classic.
Oh boy.
but yeah, if you go down this rabbit hole and go into, there's obviously all the psychobilly stuff. There's all the Rob Zombie stuff as well. It's kind of considered, part of this group. And Ghetto Boys, which is actually on our G list, is apparently considered, within the horrorcore genre.
Yeah, they did some dark stuff, Ghetto Boys. Stuff around like suicide and mental. I did a lot of stuff around mental illness and some weird, fucked up stuff. Yeah, they were a bit.
But do you know the guy who actually invented horrorcore? This is or claims to have invented it. Apparently, Dr. Octagon himself, Cool Keith.
Oh, wow. Must have been a bad weekend for Keith that weekend.
Well, if you've ever heard it's I think it's called Dr. Octagonologist or something like that. With things like Earth People and Blue Flowers and what else was there? There's some quite weird and dark tracks on. I wouldn't call them horror though, but I mean, Cool Keith and the whole, loves his kind of sci-fi and weird collaborations and stuff. Sorry, my cat is trying to get on the keyboard. Milo, what are you doing? He's literally trying to get on my lap, which is
this episode's gone completely off the rails.
I had to reference it before he actually does it because I'm struggling to actually stop him. Right. I don't know how. We just have to end this. Thank you everyone for listening. I think this is the first time we've done 3 letters in one go. So
it is, and the first time we've ended from a cat attack as well.
Wow.
Yeah, we've gone from clowns to cat attacks. So yeah, at least we've managed to descend on a new low. But hope everyone enjoyed the mental trip we've just had, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Oh, this boat was a runaway train, wasn't it?
Wow.
Bye.
What is your prediction for the music of the future?
Well, there's a new type of music that's emerged from the streets of America where people talk over the music.
They talk over the music?
Yes, and the rhythm. And it's known as rap music.
Rap music?
Yes, and I definitely think we'll be listening to rap music in the year 2000.
Well, this is a first for me because I've certainly never heard rap music before. So, Anthony Carmichael, you now have 30 seconds to give us your Music 2000. Good luck.
I'm rapping all day and I'm rapping all night. I'm rapping to the beat and I rap it up tight. I rap in the morning and I rap till I'm done. And everybody knows that I'm number one. Cause I'm rapping, I'm rapping, I'm rapping. I'm rapping, I'm rapping, I'm rappity rapping. I'm rapping, I'm rapping, I'm rapping. I'm rapping. I'm rapping all day and I'm rapping all night. Come on, I'm rapping to the beat and I rap.
Well done, that was fantastic, and thank you for introducing us all to the world of rap music.